Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar session. It is called From Lean Thinking to Lean Action, Developing a Lean Culture. It is the third and final session of our Lean IT Essentials webinar series. My name is Alex Mazurek with Quint, and I'll be your host today. Like I said, I'm Alex, and I'm joined today by our presenter, who is Tice Klaus. He's a managing partner with Quint. Just a few rules and guidelines for the audience before we begin. First off, everyone is muted, and all audio is being transmitted via computer. So you can hear us, obviously, but we cannot hear you. But if you have any questions whatsoever, on the right side of your screen, there should be a questions panel on your GoToWebinar panel that allows you to ask a question. At the end of this webinar, we will read the questions that have accumulated aloud, and our presenter today, Tice, will answer them for all to hear. And last off, we are recording today's webinar, so if you need to leave early for any reason, the recording of this webinar will be sent to all attendees in a follow-up email. So that's a few things about our organization before we get started. Quint Wellington Redwood. Today we're actually celebrating our 25-year anniversary. We started in 1992 over in Amsterdam, but have expanded to be a completely global company today with offices all around the world in North America, a couple in Europe, India, Asia, Japan. And we have over 200 consultants operating in all those offices around the world. We are founders of both the Lean IT Association and DASA, which is the DevOps Agile Skills Organization. So we help companies in those areas. And last off, we train about 30,000 professionals every single year from everything from Lean IT to DevOps, other things like ITIL, ISO, and all these other IT certifications and project management certifications that are out there. Quint has 6 key areas in which we help organizations today and what we see as challenges to organizations today. 1 being organizing IT. 2, blending technology with the business. 3, innovating across business ecosystems. 4, transforming their organizations to be truly high performing. 5, being smart with their data. And last off, helping them digitize their products and services. So as I mentioned before, this is the third and final session of our Lean Essentials webinar series. Today's session is focused on embedding the skills and competencies that are needed for Lean IT to help you successfully transform your organization. So now, without any further ado, I'm going to hand things over to Tice. Thank you so much for joining us today.
All right, thank you, Alex. Welcome everyone to this webinar. In today's webinar, what I aim to cover with you is all the training that can surround the lean transformation and that supports the lean transformation towards successful outcome for your organization. So it's about learning components, but also components of the training that you can use as means of dialogue with the IT business in identifying where the needs for training can reside in the organization. So the main target group for this webinar is people that reside in training, learning and development teams. So to start, a quick introduction into lean and what defines a lean mindset. Lean takes a very simple approach in saying, okay, if you change in small bits, day by day, at the end of the day, you can achieve major results for the organization. So it's all defined by achieving incremental improvements for the organization towards customer value. So the generic lean framework puts customer value at the center and then takes 4 perspectives that contribute to creating that customer value. The first being the value stream, meaning all activities that lead to customer value. And at the end of the day, what you want to create once you have those activities lined up, you want to create flow in that stream of activities, meaning that you don't want inventory to build up and you don't want any hurdles to be in those activities that create the customer value. The third component is pull, because you don't want to initiate a chain of events if there's no demand by the customer. So because if there is, it will ultimately lead to inventory in the value stream. So once you have that value stream defined and you created flow, you can work towards perfection by removing any obstacle in the value stream that does not provide value to the customer. That, in short, is the essence of lean. So focused on customer value and maximizing value and removing waste in the creation of that value. So lean identifies 3 different types of activities. First off, it's the value-added activities, anything that directly correlates to value as perceived by the customer. And these are the activities that you want to optimize and maximize. The second component being the necessary but non-value added activities. So preferably you want to remove them from the process, but they provide an indirect need for the process to work. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you minimize those activities. And lastly, lean talks about non-value added activities. Those you want to remove from the process altogether, because any time that you spend on those activities, there's no correlation to customer value at all. It's important to keep these 3 types of activities in mind as we move forward. So what happens if you take these generic lean principles and you start to apply them to the IT organization? So in essence, what is lean IT? Why does it even exist? So the core of lean IT is in the fact that we need to shift the ratio and move away hours in what we as Quint call burning capacity activities. You want to move them towards activities that actually provide earning capacity, that provide value to the IT end user. So when we talk about earning capacity, we mean projects for the customer, changes that the customer requests, be it standard changes or project-related changes, but also operational activities that have a direct link to value that they create to the people that use IT functionality. On the other side, burning capacity is defined by incidents, problems, coordination activities, anything associated to keeping the lights on in the IT organization. So incidents being disruptions, IT no longer working as planned, problems being the underlying root cause, all known factors to people in the IT organization. Important, besides making the distinction between the burning capacity and the earning capacity, if you want to engage in a dialogue with people in the IT organization on how to help them improve their organization, is to also be clear in the importance of time and how time is being spent by the people in the IT organization and how effectively it's being used. The reason why we call this out is because time is a thing that you can change. How time spent is a thing that you can change instantly. We can decide here and now how we want to spend our time for the rest of the day and tomorrow. There's no lead up, ramp up times, there's no lead times, so it's manageable, it's here and now. So Quint's approach to lean IT very much resembles the 5 dimensions that I showed you in the previous slide from the generic lean, but it's now adapted to the lean to the IT space. So we still have the customer, but now we focus on the process, the organization, performance, and last but certainly not least, attitude and behavior. Let's take a quick look at what each of those 5 dimensions mean. So customer speaks to itself in the sense that we want to know who our customers are and what the nature of our demand is. But also we want to have a clear view and knowledge of what is the actual value that our customers derive from our IT services. The process is all the known IT processes like ITIL processes, software development processes, anything that is common in the IT organization, but we want to know what those processes look like, where they add value, and where waste resides in those processes. But also having those processes defined, how can we create flow through those processes and how can we create pull? And then how can we improve the way we work today? The organizational aspect is about what is the purpose of the organization and how do we support business strategy. And once we have it clear, how do we deploy that strategy into our operations? And is the decision making in our organization effectively to support reaching those objectives? Performance, as the fourth dimension, is important in the IT organization to distinguish, because where we are different than, for instance, a car manufacturer is in the fact that the results, the product of IT, is often intangible. So how do we measure and influence performance? And how do we make sure that we get the right capabilities on board to actually create the work product that is needed in the business? And lastly, how do we navigate towards success, and how do we use key metrics to get there? The fifth element is behavior and attitude. Do we have the right mindset in the organization to continually improve in those incremental steps, as I mentioned all the way in the beginning of the webinar? Do we, as lean leaders, are we able to transform the organization and create a culture in the organization for high performance, and are we able to sustain that culture? And also an element of the behavior and attitude perspective is, how do we collaborate in an effective manner? So first, I want to zoom in on learning components and dialogue components that address the role of leaders in IT from a lean perspective. The associated training is the Lean IT leadership as presented by the Lean IT Association. So first, let's take a typical IT manager. Let's call him Bob. He runs an IT infrastructure department for instance, an insurance company, and he's got about 5 groups reporting into him, like service desk, Windows team, units, etc., etc. And he's trying hard. He wants to be good at his job. But he has his challenges, because with all those people, let's say the over 100 people that he has working for him, he doesn't exactly know who's doing what, who's working on what. And also, he doesn't know, okay, what is the best way to develop those people to become more effective in what they do and provide a higher quality. Altogether, it doesn't make him feel like he's in control. He's constantly being told that the team is busy, busy, busy. There's not enough time to get all the work done. And basically, Bob is always 2 steps behind in what needs to be done. So what got Bob in this position? Bob grew up in what we call traditional Western leadership paradigm. So he's used to working towards a financial plan, towards financial goals, towards quick results. He's very proud in being a leader and moving up the chain of command. The good thing, and where Bob got all the compliments in the past for what he did, is that he got the results no matter what. And getting those results, achieving the objectives, he did through the people. So now let's take the perspective of lean and the lean leader. The lean leader is not so much working to the financial plan only. He's working towards what is called the true north. It's the vision of where the organization needs to be to truly support their customer value and to be optimal in how it creates that value. Instead of quick results, he's patient. He's focused on incremental improvements, step by step, moving up the ladder and creating more value. He's supportive of the organization. He supports the team, and he acknowledges the fact that the quality, the knowledge is in the teams to improve the way that we work. It's not up to him to change the way we work. He needs to facilitate the teams in learning how to improve their way of working. So at the core of what the lean leader does is that he has a deep understanding of the business that he is in. And this is also what earns him the way up the ladder. The last 2 are extremely important to acknowledge, because he knows that he needs to have the right process in place if he wants to get to the right results. And also, the way to develop his people is through process improvement, by the collaboration with the teams to constantly improve the process, and by this educating the people to become more knowledgeable about the work that they do. So it's truly a difference between the 2 in terms of the paradigm. So leadership in lean it is an art, but even an artist needs tools. So it means that it can be learned. What the leadership training in lean, what it focuses on, is it helps you to understand what standards are how to adhere to those standards, how you can develop those standards, improve those standards, and build new standards to support the way of working in your organization. And for this, it provides you with a tool set. So, in getting to the true north, as depicted in the middle of the picture, lean leadership is also about the commitment that the leader has into constantly developing himself to become more effective and more focused on the value creation for the customer. The associated tools that come in play here is the leader standard work. And I'll get to those details a little later on in the deck. Next thing on the list for the lean leader is to help develop others. The way to do this and the materials provided in the course are associated to the Gemba work. Go to the work floor where the work is done, engage with the team, and see how you can support them to create more value for the customer. Once problems are identified that need additional analysis to be removed from the flow, this is where structured problem solving comes into play, and it also addresses the third component of lean leadership in constantly striving for improvement, continuous improvement. And finally, the lean leader is transparent in where he wants to go, what the goals are for the organization and his vision, and also is very open and transparent in how he communicates across the teams on where we stand today. And this is supported in lean leadership by the visual management or lean infrastructure toolset. Self-development is a challenge. It requires discipline and it also requires triggers to learn. You need commitment if you want to change the way you operate today. You want to be able to move away from your comfort zone. This is why it makes sense that in the beginning you're going to need support from an outside coach to help you change your method of working. And you got to practice. Simply practice in what you do and improve. So the triggers to learn, and this is also where it connects to the leader standard work. Lean acknowledges that by applying these principles, you can focus on the true content of the work that you do, and it'll help you identify deviations from the normal way of working. So the other triggers that come into play are the feedback that you get from the teams in the Gemba, and finally, the Kaizen mindset that I addressed also in the previous slide, where Kaizen stands for the problem solving, change towards improvement. So as a standard component of the work, but also as a trigger point for a conversation between learning development teams and IT leadership, for lean leaders, components that are addressed in the course reflect on the leader standard work structure that will help leaders break down their activities on a weekly scale, but also beyond, to truly understand is, okay, how do I use my time today and how can I use my time effectively? And providing them with a routine and a cadence to increase the value. Another component that is addressed in the course is about the Gemba. That I said, go to the shop floor, go to where the work is done, which is the literal translation of the Gemba. Engage with the teams, see how they work, interact, ask why they're experiencing challenges and how they operate today and how you can support in removing those challenges. Show respect, listen to the people, truly engage, and together collaboratively work towards continuous improvement of the work. So another component addressed in the training is about the mindset. It's about seeing and prioritizing problems, solving problems, sharing those lessons learned across the organization, being focused on short times, iteration cycles between identifying the problem and providing the solution, spreading it across the organization cross-functionally, and making sure that there is a clear connection between the identified problem, the results that you get from the changes that you came up with, and the goals that you want to achieve. But rapid, constant movement towards improvement. In terms of continuous improvement or Kaizen, Lean distinguishes between two components, and these can also be a topic to put on the table and a trigger when you want to engage in a lean transformation. Lean distinguishes between the daily Kaizen. It's on a daily basis where we look at how can we improve the way that we work. And the other is an improvement Kaizen, where we say, okay, we identified a major hurdle in how we operate today and want to make sure that we bring all the relevant knowledge into a room, and then Lean Kaizen provides a specific method that will help the team to get to the root cause and then to the solution of that issue. So Kaizen in itself won't be addressed in more detail in this webinar, but in the materials, there's more detail also on Kaizen, and there is a separate training for it. So feel free to reach out if you want those materials sent over to you. Okay, the training also addresses the use of visual management. As said, the Lean Leader supports transparency of where we stand today, performance-wise, and where we want to be. So we want to make sure that we have our operational performance on the wall for everybody to see and for us to engage with and see, okay, how do we improve? Same for the continuous improvement. And we want to make sure that we communicate that information effectively across the organization, and we use it to balance the workload in the teams. This connects to another component, being the performance dialogue. So this can also be a trigger where you say, okay, we want to improve performance dialogues between managers and staff in the organization. So Lean provides tool sets and a straight method that you can use to make performance dialogue more focused. What is the objective that we want to achieve? Open feedback, brutal open feedback in terms of the performance that we achieved as a team. What is our contribution and how can we improve? It's all about the openness, being very factual, and being supportive and facilitative towards the teams in how they can change and how you can help and coach them towards a better performance. So these were all components of the Lean Leadership course and the training that is provided to get leaders ready for a lean transformation. Next up, so I want to focus on what type of training can you run for the people in the teams. So just to circle back to those 5 dimensions that we touched upon earlier on. The training for the teams, for the team members, is called Lean Foundations. And it's very much focused on providing them with the knowledge and the tool set so that they can look for hurdles in the way they work and remove them from the process, that they can create that flow and improve flow efficiency in their value streams. So the tool set will help them identify their customer, what is customer value, and also a thing that's called critical to quality. And basically, it's a breakdown of that definition of quality towards the underlying activity and work product. From the process perspective, the training will provide information in how to map out your processes by using SciPoc, but also using the value stream, where you do a drill down on the activities in the value stream, and you want to make sure, okay, what is the actual work time in the value stream, and what is wait time, and what is inventory in those activities towards customer value. So and it gives you, ultimately, it gives you the important factual information like process cycle efficiency that you can use to derive the KPIs, but also to set your objectives for improvement. Components in terms of performance indicators and how they correlate and add up to organizational objectives, skills and knowledge associated to creating the value for the customer, and the tools to run the analysis on how time is being spent in the organization. Final component for Lean Foundations is in assessing how the organization is structured. So do we have the organization structured in a way that we can share performance information easily across the teams, but also is the cascade of teams towards leadership clear, that information runs smoothly from the leadership to the shop floor and back. This all supported by visual management aids. Those will be addressed, as well as the components that make up the performance dialogs, and for people to understand what it means and preparing team members to engage effectively in a performance dialogue so that it's fun and effective. So from the attitude and behavior, this is where it connects. What is the mindset that's needed on shop floor level to support a lean initiative? It makes the connection to the lean leadership course that we connected earlier on, and also the role of leadership in the transformation. And finally, it'll address how a lean transformation is set up and how it aims to mobilize the workforce, the teams, and engage them in making the change happen. So we addressed lean leadership, and we also did a quick run through the components that make up the capability development pieces on the team level. What does it mean if you plot those on a lean transformational roadmap? So in this slide, we depicted the standard method to execute a lean transformation. So, and it shows you a roadmap that provides you with a structure to transform an organization from non-lean IT towards lean IT, focusing on leadership, the people, knowledge, objectives, strategic planning to get to the results. If we start on the bottom, lean has a predefined timeline for a transformation that consists of an analysis phase and a realization phase. So for any team or any process, we take 4 weeks to run the analysis, take the lean tool set to define our objectives for improvement, and then we take 8 weeks for realization on getting those improvements done. If we move up the ladder, you'll see it rolls up into a pilot phase. And the first transformation, the first execution of running such an analysis and realization is what we call a pilot. And once the system is proven to be effective, any next process or team is executed as a wave 1, 2, etc., etc. Any wave that is completed after 12 weeks continues in continuous improvement, where the change is anchored in the organization and the teams continue to seek for improvements once the lean wave is completed. So an X number of these waves together with the pilot roll up in what we call a lean transformation. Before you start a lean transformation, we do a 4 weeks planning phase, and this is where on the enterprise level you run the analysis to identify the sequence in processes or teams and how you want to roll lean across the organization. So it gives you a first indication and the first factual proof on where to start lean in the organization and how to execute it so that the entire organization is transformed from non-lean towards lean IT. And on the top, addressed separately, is lean leadership. So where does the training fit in? In Quint's point of view, it's important to engage leadership early in the transformation. So we prefer to engage leadership both in workshops and in training in parallel to the planning stage. This will get them ready the moment that you move from planning into the actual lean transformation. When it's down to the team level, you want to engage with the teams directly when you start the transformation in such a group. So in parallel to the analysis phase, you want to bring the entire workforce, the entire team that is in scope for the transformation together in a room to do the Lean Foundations training. So that is the sequence towards the training. In addition, there's also training available for Lean IT coaches. And as said earlier on, for those guys and leads, those run separate from the current scheme. And the coaches will be an objective if you want to anchor the capability to continually take the organization by the hand and seek for performance improvement and to support them in those improvements if you want to build a lean competence center. If you aim to do so, that training should also be run in parallel to the overall planning stage and starts with a strict selection of the right profiles in the organization for the lean IT coaches. So overall, this is Quint's view in how you want to get the change done and how you want to anchor the capability. So I'm not going to go over these in detail, but ultimately, in line with what the lean method says, you want to be focused on setting the objectives, identifying gaps. You want to make sure that independently people can solve issues and create value independently, and you want to anchor that capability. The training we talked about supports those activities and ensures that at the end of the day, that anchoring of the capability is effective in the organization. So to summarize, Lean IT starts with a lot of learning, understanding, knowing what Lean is and how to apply the basic tool set, Lean foundations, and we spoke about the Kaizen and the leadership. And finally, address the coach piece also. So this was my the webinar on how the training supports your IT transformation and where to time it if you want to engage in such a transformation. I'm open to any questions.
Thanks, Tice. We do have now two questions in. I just want to remind everybody it's an open forum, so go ahead and ask a question if you have one now. The first one, Tice, is what expected returns are there for investing in Lean IT?
Okay, it's a very good question. Typically, from a lean transformation in IT, we expect a 25% performance improvement on any given process or set of activities in a team that you may define. So for those of you that work, for instance, in incident management, change management, request fulfillment, you can easily take a 25% performance improvement. On the performance of the process, but also in the effectiveness, efficiency of those processes. So what happens is that you're able to free up the time that's being spent in incident management, and you can route those hours towards the activities that create value to the customer. So for instance, projects and other changes. I hope that answers the question.
Thanks, Tice. Question we have here is, does it make sense to put people in lean training if there is no start date for a project?
I think there is, yes, definitely. I think all the training provides components that you can already apply in the work that you do today, but also in having the people engage with these materials and learning about the lean philosophy and the lean tool set. It's also a component that can make them ready for a lean transformation. So it's also a good way to kick off the lean thinking in the organization, building up towards the actual lean transformation itself. But since the lean IT curriculum is very much focused on all aspects of the IT organization, whether or not you're planning on running a lean transformation in the short term, it will always provide you with valuable tools and insights that you can leverage in your current way of working in the IT organization also.
That will do it with us today. There's Tice's information right there. He's accessible, so if you have any questions for him, please feel free to reach out to him or ask for him directly. Thank you all for joining us again today. Hope the rest of your day is great. Thank you, everyone.